Baal first emerged during the Second GOA'ULD dynasty as one of Ra's key underlords on Earth. Among the Canaanites, he was believed to be the son of El, who was actually Ra. In this role, he played a major part in the development of agricultural systems for various civilizations, including the Canaanites and the Phocians. His influence extended across the Mediterranean region and eventually much of the planet. Despite his role in agricultural processes, Baal was far from benevolent. He was ruthless in enforcing food production quotas, often resorting to mass human sacrifices when his demands were not met. Although his harsh rule contributed to the prosperity of both the GOA'ULD and his subjects, it also sparked some of the earliest signs of rebellion against the System Lord. While these uprisings were not on the same scale as those later faced by Ra, a few villages renounced their worship of Baal, only for him to destroy them as punishment. During their time when the GOA'ULD ruled Earth, Baal was sent to Kanani under the alias Ra-Amen, the Thunderer, to eliminate King Yam, who had fallen out of favor. After killing Yam and casting his body into the ocean, Baal established the floating city of Tispan, marking the beginning of Kanani's enslavement to the GOA'ULD. However, the people eventually revolted, using Baal's own technology against him and forcing him to flee. Before leaving, he took the power source of his ancient-designed anti-gravity shield, but abandoned the rest of the technology. The other System Lords, fearing the potential of his gravity-based experiments, forbade him from returning to Kanani. Baal later continued his gravity research on a smaller scale while securing the power source in a shrine on his fortress world. At some point during this era, he was temporarily killed by Mot, but later resurrected by his sister Enat. After the fall of the Second GOA'ULD dynasty, Baal was among the first to foresee a potential uprising from the Tari and chose to leave Earth for the stars. The decision angered his former master Ra, who expelled him from his inner circle. Despite this setback, Baal retained control over several Jaffa once loyal to Ra. Though their allegiance was not entirely steadfast, they feared Baal's wrath more than the potential punishment from Ra if Baal were to fall. To maintain discipline, Baal frequently made examples of those who betrayed him. When the Tari rebellion began, Ra turned his attention to Baal, repeatedly defending him. Desperate, Baal sought an alliance with Sokar, inadvertently reinforcing the Tari belief that he was Baalbezebub, a demonic figure. Knowing Sokar's enmity towards Ra, Baal offered him a contingent of Jaffa, many of whom had previously served Ra, to aid his battles. Although Sokar's forces were already formidable, the insider knowledge of Baal's Jaffa provided about Ra's tactics made them a valuable asset. In return, Sokar supported Baal, allowing him to expand his territory. For generations, Baal leveraged Sokar's backing to build a stronghold in the Milky Way galaxy, while Sokar considered these conquests his own. He rarely intervened directly, preferring to focus on his war against Ra. Baal, in turn, remained outwardly loyal, paying tribute while steadily consolidating power. Eventually, he manipulated Sokar's Jaffa into serving him fully, and once confident in his strength, he declared independence. Sokar attempted to reclaim his lost territory by sending 2 fleets, but Baal anticipated this and devised a deadly trap. As Sokar's forces entered Baal's controlled systems, they encountered what appeared to be minimal resistance, just 2 Hatak ships in each system. However, Baal triggered the stars in those systems to go supernova, destroying everything nearby, including their planets and their 60 million inhabitants. Recognizing the immense cost of further conflict, Sokar agreed to a truce, redirecting his focus back to Ra. This peace allowed both Baal and Sokar to concentrate on their common enemy rather than fighting amongst themselves. Baal's war with Ra lasted for centuries, eventually reaching a stalemate where neither could afford further losses. They declared a ceasefire, but remained bitter rivals, frequently undermining each other through the covert raids and political maneuvering rather than direct combat. This tense balance persisted for over 1,000 years until Ra's unexpected demise. Unbeknownst to the System Lords at the time, Ra was assassinated by Colonel Jack O'Neill and Dr. Daniel Jackson, who had used transportation rings to deliver an enhanced nuclear warhead onto his mothership during a rebellion on Abydos. Though the true cause of Ra's death was unclear to the GOA'ULD, Baal acted swiftly, seizing much of Ra's fractured territory before Apophis could consolidate power. This expansion further solidified his position, elevating him to one of the most powerful System Lords in the galaxy. Following the deaths of Apophis and Kronos, the System Lords convened to discuss the future of their rule. Among them, Baal emerged as a dominant figure, acting as an unofficial leader during the meeting. When Osiris arrived as a representative of Anubis, seeking to reinstate him as a System Lord in exchange for destroying the Tari, Baal was among those who supported the proposal. Unlike the others, however, his true motive was to gather intelligence on his potential rival. This decision, however, escalated tensions between Baal and Yu, turning their previous minor disagreements into outright hostility. The Tok'ra had successfully infiltrated Baal's ranks through an operative named Kanan. However, when Kanan was exposed as a spy, his host suffered severe injuries, forcing him to abandon the mission. Later, after Kanan's symbiote was implanted in Jack O'Neill, The two shared memories, compelling O'Neill to return to Ball's outpost to rescue Shaylin, a Lotar Kanan had grown attached to. Unfortunately, Jack was captured before he could complete his mission. With Kanan gone and no longer accessible to Ball, the System Lord focused his efforts on Jack O'Neill, torturing him repeatedly. He killed Jack over and over again, reviving him each time in an attempt to extract any remnants of Tok'ra intelligence left in his mind. However, SG1 discovered Ball's weapons research on the planet and informed you. He responded by launching an attack. The resulting destruction destroyed Ball's facility and led to Jack O'Neill's escape. Unknown to Ball, his supposed loyal underlord Mott had been plotting against him for years. A century earlier, after Ball abandoned P4S-237 due to its seemingly depleted Naquita mines, Mott seized control of the planet in secret. With Ball having fallen from Anubis' favor following a series of defeats at the hands of Lord Yu, Mott saw an opportunity to elevate his own status by offering the planet's resources to Anubis in exchange for power. However, his scheme was ultimately thwarted when SG1, with the aid of the planet's villagers, defeated and killed him, ironically saving Ball from Mott's betrayal without Ball ever realizing the threat it existed. As Anubis failed in his efforts to destroy Earth, he turned his attention towards conquering the remaining System Lords. With an overwhelmingly powerful fleet at his command, he became an existential threat that only a unified front could hope to challenge. Initially, Lord Yu was chosen to lead the System Lords Alliance, but his increasingly senility made him unfit for command. Recognizing this, Teal'c and Oshu persuaded Ball to take control of the fleet and lead the fight against Anubis. Seizing a critical opportunity, Ball launched a decisive strike while Anubis was stationed in the atmosphere of Langara, where the planet's gravitational forces weakened his shields. Ball's fleet attacked and successfully destroyed Anubis' mothership, though Anubis himself managed to escape in an emergency pod. Following this victory, Ball continued to expand his influence. He soon captured the planet Erebus, using its brutal labor camps to strengthen his forces. During this time, his Jaffa captured Braytak and Ryak, holding them prisoner in the camp. However, their captivity was short-lived as SG1 and Ragnar led a successful mission to liberate the planet and its prisoners, dealing another setback to Ball's growing ambitions. After the fall of Anubis, Ball seized the opportunity to expand his power, taking control of Anubis' former domains, including the deadly Coal Warriors and advanced Asgard beaming and hologram technology. Armed with these formidable assets, he launched a ruthless campaign against the other System Lords, determined to establish himself as the most powerful GOA'ULD. His rapid rise alarmed his rivals, leading to them attempting to form an unlikely alliance with the Tari in a desperate bid to counter his growing dominance. However, their negotiations ultimately failed, leaving Ball unchallenged in his pursuit of power. During this time, Ball also sought to manipulate the Tari for his own gain. When SG1 became trapped in Anubis' abandoned base on P2X-887, he saw an opportunity to exploit the situation. He falsely claimed to have captured the team and proposed a trade with Brigadier General Jack O'Neill, SG1 in exchange for the imprisoned System Lord Camulus. O'Neill, ever the strategist, agreed to the deal, but sent Camulus to Ball with a non-functional ZPM instead of a rigged explosive one Camulus had intended to use to assassinate Ball. The ploy failed, and Ball later eliminated Camulus, removing another potential threat to his rule. Ball's territorial expansion continued following the death of the GOA'ULD Moloch on Haktil. Wasting no time, he swiftly absorbed Moloch's remaining forces and domain into his own growing empire. With each victory, Ball strengthened his hold over the galaxy, making 2004 a pivotal year in his ascension as the dominant GOA'ULD warlord. Ball swiftly rose to power, using Anubis' forces to subjugate the remaining System Lords. Within a year, only 3 System Lords remained, none capable of challenging him. However, Anubis eventually returned and, operating in secret, reclaimed control of his armies. This forced Ball to reluctantly serve under Anubis, despite his ambitions. Nonetheless, Ball adopted the title of Supreme Commander of the GOA'ULD Empire while covertly remaining under Anubis' authority. His conquest drove many System Lords into hiding, retreating to former strongholds. Among them was Ares, who attempted to reclaim Archon's world but was killed when Brigadier General Jack O'Neill destroyed his Hitak with the Time Jumper. This likely led to Ball absorbing Ares' domain as well. Ball's campaign was ultimately halted by the long-foreseen invasion of the Replicators into the Milky Way galaxy. The Replicator armadas, commanded by Replicator Carter, rapidly overwhelmed and eliminated the GOA'ULD System Lords, leaving Ball struggling against an unstoppable enemy. Upon discovering an ancient weapon on Dakara, capable of wiping out all life in the galaxy, Ball secretly collaborated with Lieutenant Colonel Samantha Carter, her father Jacob Carter, and Replicator Carter's original human consciousness to reconfigure the device. By utilizing Dakara's Stargate and its dial home device, they successfully eradicated all replicators. However, Ball's attempt to seize control of Dakara was thwarted when Rebel Jaffa stormed his ship, forcing him to flee. His retreat shattered the illusion of GOA'ULD divinity, effectively signaling the collapse of the GOA'ULD Empire. Despite the Replicators' defeat, Anubis remained determined to use the superweapon to eliminate all life. He spared Ball, intending for him to witness the galaxy's destruction. However, Anubis' plan was ultimately thwarted by Dr. Daniel Jackson and Amidala. When Anubis, contained by Amidala and the other system lords, eradicated by the Replicators, Ball became the last known surviving GOA'ULD warlord. Following the Jaffa Rebellion and the loss of his empire, Ball sought refuge on Earth. There he established himself as a businessman while seizing control of the Trust. Utilizing Asgard cloning technology, he created multiple clones of himself to further his schemes. In an attempt to deter Stargate Command and the Free Jaffa from eliminating him, Ball planted a Naquita bomb in a Seattle skyscraper, threatening mass destruction. However, his enemies proceeded with their assault, beaming the building into space to neutralize the threat. One of Ball's clones was captured and executed by Garrick and his Jaffa, but the real Ball, along with several other clones, managed to escape. This allowed him to enact new plans in pursuit of restoring his power. In an elaborate deception, a clone of the GOA'ULD system Lord Ball was used as a decoy to mislead the Free Jaffa nation into believing they had successfully captured and executed the real Ball. As Stargate Command launched a cruise missile carrying symbiote poison at Ball's Earth-based compound, Garrick's Jaffa forces attacked. While the true Ball and most of his followers escaped, the Jaffa captured one of his clones, mistakenly believing him to be the original. Following the capture, Teal'c confronted Garrick before the Jaffa High Council, criticizing his reckless actions. However, Garrick presented the imprisoned Ball to the council, justifying his attack as a necessary step towards eliminating a major threat. The captured Ball mocked the Jaffa, declaring that they were born as slaves and would die as slaves. In response, Garrick executed him with a staff weapon, solidifying his authority within the Free Jaffa nation. Upon his return to Earth, Teal'c informed SG1 of Ball's supposed execution. However, the team had discovered a laboratory in Ball's compound containing cloning equipment and research data, leading them to conclude that the executed Ball was merely a clone, while the real one remained at large. Despite knowing the truth, Teal'c chose not to inform the Jaffa High Council, realizing that they would dismiss the revelation as an attempt to undermine Garrick's newfound power and nothing more. Ball rebuilt his army by recruiting and brainwashing Jaffa, using his influence to manipulate the Jaffa High Council. One of his clones attempted to seize control of the council, opposing their movement towards democracy. He justified his actions as a means to provide strong leadership against the Ori threat, but Vala Meldoran later speculated that his true goal was to control the Takara superweapon. This device, originally intended for mass destruction by Anubis, would have wiped out all life in the galaxy except for Ball and his followers, thereby deterring the Ori from further interest in the Milky Way. Although Ball acknowledged the plan's lack of originality, it ultimately failed and the clone was killed by Teal'c. Ball also sought to re-establish his power by stealing stargates from other planets using Asgard transporter technology. His strategy, developed with assistance from his former servant Nerus, was thwarted when Nerus, who had defected to the Ori and was captured by Stargate Command, unintentionally uploaded a virus into one of Ball's Hatak. As a result, the stargates were recovered by the Earthship Odyssey, and Ball's Hatak, along with several of his clones, was destroyed by the Lucian Alliance. Later, Ball flew an Elkash to Earth, but was shot down by F-16s and taken into custody at Stargate Command. There, he revealed that his clones had betrayed him and convinced the SGC to help capture them, claiming they had valuable knowledge of the Sangral. Using locator beams he had secretly implanted in his clones, the SGC tracked them down. However, Malcolm Barrett, who had been brainwashed, aided Ball in his escape. Ball forced Lieutenant Colonel Samantha Carter to give him an ancient list of Stargate addresses and exploited the locator chips to amplify their signal, allowing him and his clones to be beamed away. One of Ball's clones later discovered the existence of Merlin's anti-Ori weapon, capable of destroying both the Ori and the Ancients. Finding the planet where the weapon was hidden, he was forced to use the Stargate after his ships failed to detect it. However, intricate puzzles created by the Ascendant Ancient Morgan Le Fay prevented him from reaching his goal. His Jaffa abandoned him while trying to free him from a force field. As a result, Ball had to work alongside SG1 and Adria. Eventually, he was transported to the tomb of Mirrodin, where the disoriented Ancient compared him to Mordred. Despite his efforts to escape the locked gate system that cycled travelers between worlds, Ball was ultimately stunned by an Ori commander. His final fate remains unknown. He may have been killed or stranded on the planet indefinitely. With the Ori making significant advances in the Milky Way, the System Lord Ball conceived a cunning plan to shift the balance of power in his favor. He aimed to capture Adria the Orisai and use her as his new host. To accomplish this, he ambushed SG1's mission to seize her, successfully taking her captive. Once Adria was in his possession, Ball summoned his clones for a meeting to discuss the situation. However, upon their arrival, he betrayed them, deploying symbiote poison throughout the camp, eliminating all of them. With no rivals left, Ball implanted himself into Adria's body. Shortly afterwards, SG1 infiltrated his Hatak and managed to eliminate yet another one of his clones. Ball then attempted to bargain with SG1, claiming he would aid them in expelling the Ori from the galaxy, asserting that the Ori themselves were already dead. Unwilling to trust the GOA'ULD, SG1 contacted the Tok'ra, who successfully extracted Ball from Adria. However, before his removal, Ball released a deadly symbiote symbiote toxin into her system, further complicating the situation. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Cam Mitchell voiced concerns that the threat of Ball might not be over, speculating that at least one of his clones could have survived. Around the same time, during the Ancients' expedition encounter with the rogue Asgard Fenrir, the Tari and the Free Jaffa Nation were preparing a joint strike on one of Ball's strongholds. A fleet from the Free Jaffa Nation, along with the Odyssey, assembled at Gola X for the operation. This forced Lieutenant Colonel John Shepard and Dr. Rodney McKay to rendezvous with the Odyssey in order to assess the Asgard computer core, ensuring they had the technological edge for the coming battle. Despite the destruction of many of his clones, both the real Ball and at least one duplicate managed to survive. The surviving clone was ultimately discovered thanks to a tracking device, one that only the true Ball was capable of removing. Captured and taken to the Tok'ra homeworld, the clone was set to undergo an extraction procedure to remove its symbiote. Before the process began, the clone ominously warned SG1 and General O'Neill that eliminating him was a grave mistake, as the real Ball had put a failsafe in place such an event occurs. Despite the warning, the Tok'ra proceeded with the extraction ceremony. The procedure was executed flawlessly, and Ball's symbiote was successfully removed from his host. After its removal, the Tok'ra Elder wasted no time in ensuring its demise, smashing the containment vessel that held the parasitic creature, killing it instantly. With the symbiote destroyed, the host survived, freed from the GOA'ULD's control for the first time in years. Recognizing the struggle he would face in adjusting to his new life, Balam Alderaan offered to help him transition into his newfound freedom. However, at the same time, the real Ball had set his own plans in motion. Using the solar observation outpost on Praxion, he traveled back in time to 1939 with a contingent of loyal Jaffa. His objective was to intercept and destroy the Achilles, the ship carrying the Alpha Gate, before it could reach the United States. If successful, this act would alter history, preventing Earth's development of a Stargate program and ensuring Ball's dominance over the timeline. Unknown to Ball, his plan had actually unraveled. In the alternate timeline where Ball's scheme had succeeded, Colonel Cam Mitchell had traveled back to 1939 as well, determined to stop him. When Ball and his forces emerged through the Stargate, they were met with an ambush. Mitchell, along with Bosun and his allies, opened fire on the GOA'ULD and his Jaffa. Stunned by the unexpected resistance, Ball barely had a moment to react before locking eyes with Mitchell in a moment of sheer disbelief. Before he could act, Mitchell fired his Thompson submachine gun, striking Ball in the head and killing him instantly. With the true Ball's death in 1939 and the final clone's demise at the hands of the Tok'ra, Ball's legacy came to an end. His death marked not only the fall of the last GOA'ULD System Lord, but also the final chapter in a long and brutal struggle against the GOA'ULD Empire. So what did you guys think of the GOA'ULD System Lord Ball? Please let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.